Live from the Heartland Mama studio, this is the Heartland Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Heidi Henry. The Heartland Mamas podcast is available on all podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook, proudly part of the Demcast USA network. Like, subscribe, and share, please. As of today, we only have 341 days left to save the USA. 341 days until the November 5th, 2024 election. So get ready, get active, get moving, get us to the win. Let's talk about Henry Kissinger, because people keep asking me, what is it about Kissinger? Why is he all over the news? Wasn't he an elder statesman? And I have to tell him, no, Kissinger was a guy we tried to forget. He was part of the Nixon regime, and as much as we tried to forget him, we really should never forget him. We have to remember what he did, the evil that he caused, the fact that he and Nixon were responsible for over 1 million deaths of the Vietnamese people and the Cambodian people, and 21,000 deaths of U.S. soldiers that were at war there. There was so much that he did to conspire to get Nixon in office and keep Nixon in office by preying on Nixon's vanity, Nixon's weakness, Nixon's paranoia. It sounds like somebody else that was recently president as well, not our current president, but the one before. So what happened with that is we were in the middle of this terrible war, and President Johnson, who was president at the time, was screwing it up. He was handling it very badly. Now, Johnson did a lot of good things, but he didn't have a handle on the Vietnam War. It was a hot mess, and the people were angry at him because we were watching the war in real time on TV. And I was a little kid, but I remember it being on the news every night. You know, if it bleeds, it leads. And so let's start with Vietnam and all the deaths of all the people. It was horrifying to watch. And Johnson was not getting us out of that war. So he brokered a ceasefire with South Vietnam to end the war. So the ceasefire would have gone on for 10 days while they prepared to end the war. That was the whole concept of that. And because of how badly Johnson had handled the war, he had decided not to run for re-election, and Hubert Humphrey, his vice president, was running for president, and he was facing off against Richard Nixon. So once Kissinger got wind of the fact that we were going to stop the war by having a ceasefire, he sent a woman named Anna Renault to South Vietnam, to their government, and said, hey, Nixon has a strategy to win the war, so you can come out on top and you'll have all the riches of the land to the north, of not just North Vietnam, but Cambodia as well. And we can stamp out communism, which is not why we were there, but that's what they were told. And you can have a big fat win. Well, that was a lie, because Nixon had no strategy. And Kissinger knew that, because if anyone would have put together that strategy, it would have been Kissinger, and there wasn't one. So they lied about that. And again, I'll say it again. They cost 1 million Vietnamese people and Cambodians their lives, and caused them the death of 21,000 U.S. soldiers. Now, because of that, because there was no ceasefire, because there was no end to the war, Johnson didn't look like a hero, Nixon looked like a solution, and because Kissinger and Nixon together conspired to advance and violate the Logan Act. The Logan Act is something that goes back to Revolutionary War times. It's an old act dating into the late 1700s, and it's to prevent private citizens, unelecteds, anybody who's not in charge, from going to another foreign government that we have a beef with and saying, hey, I'm the speaker of the land, when they're not. They represented themselves as agents of the United States of America, and they were not. So we've seen violations of the Logan Act at other times. It's not used very often, but history has shown that Nixon and Kissinger did this deliberately to prolong the war so that Hubert Humphrey would not win, and they could then in turn win. And they were willing to win at any price. You have to understand, by violating the Logan Act, they sentenced over 1 million people to death just so Nixon could be president. I want you to think about that they didn't care about another human life as much as they cared about Nixon being president. And Kissinger used the U.S. Governmental bureaucracy, and he used his ability to mine the paranoia and the ambition and the vanity of Richard Nixon to get us to that place. So he is not somebody we should ever laud and honor. He is somebody we should never forget, because we need to understand that evil can come to us dressed in a three-piece suit as an elder statesman that is well-spoken, and in somebody who wears a too long red tie and can't string together a coherent sentence. They can do this just as they are. Evil comes dressed in a lot of different packages. And that's where we are with Henry Kissinger. That's why we can't forget about him. That's why we can't forgive him. Because sending Anna Renault to prolong the war and kill a lot of people, well, this is why I talk about how many days that are left to save America. Because I've seen this in real time before, the evil, the violence, the willing to do whatever it takes to win by deception, by deceiving, by being hateful. This is the kind of people that we've dealt with in the past, and we need to be damn sure that we deal with them in the future by not allowing them to win November 5th. It will save us all. It will save the democratic process of this country, because we watched Nixon and Kissinger violate it in the past. On January 6th, of 2021, we nearly saw the overthrowing of our own government. And we have to stand tall and prevent this from ever happening again. So it's on your shoulders and my shoulders and every voter's shoulders to save this country from itself, from the evil that lurks inside of it. From the edge of the Great Red Divide, this has been the Heartland Mamas podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Henry. Have a great day. See you tomorrow.